The Galactic Empire believed they owned the stars. Their fleets spread across countless systems. Their banners hung on every conquered world. To them, nothing was beyond reach. Nothing was too strong to resist their power. But there was one place even their maps marked in red lines. A shadow of space whispered in fear and silence, the Terran zone, forbidden to enter, forbidden even to mention too loudly on the Empire's flagship. The Admiral stood tall before his officers. His eyes shone with arrogance. "This so-called forbidden space is nothing but an old story," he said, his voice echoing across the command deck. "The galaxy speaks of Terrans as if they were gods. I say they are ghosts, and ghosts cannot harm us." His officers exchanged uneasy glances, but none dared to speak against him. One young officer cleared his throat. "Admiral, the treaties of old warned us not to cross this line. Our ancestors signed it in blood. They say the Terrans destroyed entire fleets before vanishing. Perhaps." His words died under the Admiral's glare. "Superstition," the Admiral barked. "The Empire bows to no myth. We are the pride of the galaxy. And today we claim this empty space as ours." The fleet engines roared. Hundreds of ships crossed the boundary into the forbidden zone. The stars around them grew darker, as if the void itself held its breath. Sensors flickered, showing strange shadows that moved but were never there when scanned twice. The crew whispered among themselves, fear creeping into their voices. "Sir," one technician said, "we're detecting faint signals ahead. No known code matches. They almost sound like heartbeats." The words made the deck grow quiet. "Ghost echoes," the Admiral said coldly. "Ignore them. Advance at full speed." Hours passed, but the deeper they went, the stranger space became. Distances felt wrong. Lights bent around their ships, and some swore they saw shapes gliding in the dark, long and silent, like predators circling prey. Finally, the sensors screamed. A formation of ships appeared, not on the star charts, not matching any Empire record, black steel against the stars, edges sharp like blades, weapons glowing faint blue. They appeared without a jump signature. As if the void had birthed them, the bridge froze. Every officer stared at the screen, hearts pounding. "Admiral," whispered the captain of the sensors. "They're human." The word struck like a knife. Humanity had been gone for centuries, wiped out in wars too brutal to imagine. At least, that was what the galaxy believed. A voice cut through the silence. It was deep, cold, and came through every channel at once. "This space is forbidden. Leave now, or be destroyed." The crew flinched at the sound. It was not shouted. It was not even angry. It was calm, and that calmness carried more terror than any threat. The Admiral's lip curled into a smile. "Primitive scare tactics. They think we will kneel to shadows." He stood tall. "Signal the fleet. Prepare weapons. Let us teach these ghosts who rules the stars." "Admiral." "Wait." The young officer tried to speak, but the order had already been given. The Empire's fleet opened fire. Hundreds of beams of light, torpedoes, and missiles rushed forward. Space blazed with the fury of the Empire, but then something impossible happened. The Terran ships shimmered, their shields bending reality. The Empire's fire vanished like stones sinking into water. "Not a single hit landing true. They absorbed it," gasped the weapons officer. "No damage detected, none at all." The comm crackled again. The same calm voice spoke. "Final warning, leave, or you will be erased." The Admiral's pride burned brighter than fear. "Fire again all batteries. Show them what Empire steel means." But before the order could finish, the void lit up. A single Terran ship moved. So fast it blurred against the stars. One Empire cruiser exploded in a ball of fire, then another, then 5 more in a row. It was as if invisible claws tore through them. The crew screamed as the screens filled with burning ships. "Admiral, they're cutting through us like paper." The Admiral's face lost its color, his arrogance cracked. No, this cannot be," he whispered. "No one can match the Empire. No one." Another human voice came through. This one colder than ice. "We warned you. Pride has blinded you, and now it will bury you." The survivors watched as Terran ships slid back into the shadows, striking again and again, each strike perfect, merciless. The Empire's fleet shrank with every second. Retreat! The Admiral finally shouted. His voice broke. All ships retreat now! The surviving vessels turned, engines burning at full power. But even in retreat, the humans followed. Not chasing wildly, but hunting with precision. They let some ships go, just enough to carry the story back. The young officer stared out into the dark, his voice low, almost broken. They weren't ghosts. They were waiting. Waiting for us to make this mistake. The fleet limped back across the red line, only a fraction surviving. Behind them, the Terran ships stopped at the border, standing in silence like guardians of a tomb. Then for the last time, the comms carried their voice. This is Terran space. Do not return. The transmission ended, and the void was silent again. But the silence now had meaning. It was not emptiness. It was a warning. On the flagship, the Admiral collapsed into his chair. His pride shattered. His hands shook as he whispered, "We thought them dead. We thought ourselves untouchable." But we were wrong. The young officer looked at him with fear and a strange respect. "Admiral, we have awoken them, and the galaxy will never be the same." The stars outside flickered, and for the first time in centuries, the Empire trembled. The Empire's survivors drifted in silence, their ships scarred, their crews broken. The void outside seemed darker now, filled with the memory of Terran fire. Every man and woman on those decks carried the same thought. This should never have happened. On the flagship, the Admiral sat in his chair, his hands shaking though he tried to hide it. His officers whispered, afraid to speak too loudly. The young officer finally broke the silence, his voice trembling. "Admiral, what do we tell the Senate?" The Admiral's eyes, once filled with arrogance, now carried fear. "We tell them nothing," he said sharply. "We say the mission faced resistance. We say the enemy was strong, but not human." He paused, grinding his teeth. "The Senate must not know we woke them." "But, sir," the officer whispered, "they will ask about the forbidden line. They will want proof. They will ask why our fleet was destroyed in ours." The Admiral's voice hardened. "Then we give them lies. We tell them what they want to hear, not the truth. The truth would spread panic across the Empire." His words sounded strong, but deep inside, he knew the truth could not be buried forever. The fleet limped back into Imperial space. Each jump through hyperspace felt slower, heavier. The crew carried their fear like chains. When they finally docked at the central shipyards, the Senate representatives came to greet them. Their eyes widened at the ruined ships. Broken hulls, missing fleets. What enemy did this? One senator demanded, "Who dares strike against the Empire?" The Admiral lifted his chin. "Unknown raiders. Perhaps from the outer spiral. They wielded strange weapons. But they are no match for our reinforcements." Murmurs filled the room. Some senators accepted the excuse. Others narrowed their eyes. One older senator leaned forward, his voice sharp. "Unknown raiders? Or was it the forbidden?" The word hung in the air like a curse. The Admiral's jaw tightened. Superstition. Nothing more. But the senator's gaze did not waver. Later in private, the young officer whispered to his fellow crew, "He lies to them. But what if they come again? What if humans cross the border, not just defend it?" The question lingered in the air, terrifying in its simplicity. Meanwhile, far beyond the Empire's reach, deep inside the Forbidden Zone, the Terrans gathered. A massive chamber lit by holograms showed star maps filled with glowing red lines. A human commander stood at the center, his voice steady. "They tested the line. They sent their pride against us. And we showed them what it cost," one officer asked. "Do we pursue them? Strike into their space? End the Empire now?" The commander's eyes narrowed. "Not yet. They came to us out of arrogance. They will return. Pride never dies in silence. When they return, we will be ready. Until then, we watch. We wait." The Terran fleet remained in the shadows. Unseen but always present, their ships glided silently around hidden worlds, preparing for the storm to come. Back in the Empire, whispers spread faster than officials could contain. Merchants spoke of ruined ships docking in secret. Soldiers told stories of shadows in space, and among the people, an old word returned to their tongues: Terran. The more the Senate denied it, the more the people believed it. The Admiral tried to bury the truth, But his own officers grew restless. One night, the young officer stood before him in the command chamber, his voice stronger than before. "Sir, I cannot lie anymore. They deserve to know what we faced. The Senate must prepare. The fleet must prepare." The admiral slammed his fist on the table. "Silence. You think the Senate will prepare? They will laugh. They will send more fleets to their death. Do you want the galaxy to burn in fear? Do you want riots in the streets?" His voice cracked, showing the fear he tried to hide. The officer met his gaze. "Better fear now than extinction later." The admiral stared at him for a long moment. Then in a broken whisper he said, "You have not seen their eyes. You have not heard their voices. They were not warning us, they were judging us, as if they already knew how this would end." Outside, the Senate debated. Some pushed for war, demanding revenge for the destroyed fleet. Others demanded silence, afraid of waking old ghosts. The Empire began to fracture between those who believed and those who denied. But in the shadows, Terran spies had already slipped beyond their borders. Silent ships cloaked in darkness followed Imperial fleets. Listening, watching, every move of the Empire was already known. On one cold night in the Imperial capital, the older senator, who had whispered about the forbidden, was found dead in his chambers. His guards swore they heard nothing. No doors opened, no alarms rang. Only a faint message burned into his desk. Words written in fire: "Do not cross the line again." Panic spread through the Senate halls. Was it assassination? Was it Terran warning? No one could say, but fear grew. Fear that the Forbidden Zone was not just defended, it was alive. In the Admiral's quarters, he sat alone, staring at a map of the galaxy. His pride was gone, replaced by dread. He whispered to himself, "We thought ourselves gods, but we are children playing with fire." From the window, he looked out at the stars, and for the first time in his life, he felt hunted. The Empire's halls were filled with whispers. Senators argued louder each day. Merchants feared the trade routes near the forbidden border. Soldiers carried rumors of shadows following them in deep space. No matter how much the Admiral tried to bury the truth, the word Terran spread like fire. In the Senate chamber, voices clashed. "We must strike again," one senator shouted. "Show the people that the Empire fears no ghost," another rose to argue. "Strike again. You saw the wreckage, you saw the empty docks. How many fleets will you throw into the dark before you learn?" The Emperor sat in silence on his throne, his face calm, his eyes unreadable. Finally he spoke. "Fear weakens us, but pride blinds us. We cannot rush. We will send spies. Find the truth before we act." His words carried authority. Yet doubt still filled the chamber. While the Senate argued, strange things began to happen across the border. Empire ships reported sensors jamming, phantom signals, distress calls that vanished the moment they were traced. One patrol never returned, another came back half-burned. The crew whispering of black ships moving without sound. On the flagship, the young officer who had once tried to warn the Admiral stood at the viewport. His voice was quiet. "They are not waiting anymore, they are watching us. Testing us," the Admiral sighed, his face older than before. "I know," he admitted. "Every night I hear their voices. They said it so simply, leave or be destroyed, and we did not leave, we tried to hide. But they are already here." The officer turned sharply. "Then we must tell the truth. The Senate must prepare before it's too late." But the Admiral shook his head. "The Senate listens only to its pride. They will argue until the Terrans strike. And then it will be too late for all of us." Far away, deep within forbidden space, Terran war councils gathered. The human commander stood before a map. Thousands of red lights marked Empire worlds. His officers waited as he spoke. They lied to their people. They told them we were myths. But now the truth spreads. And truth is a weapon sharper than any blade. One officer leaned forward. "Do we attack now? Strike their capital. Show them no one crosses the line without consequence." The commander's eyes were cold. "Not yet. We fight with patience. We strike not only their fleets, but their hearts. Let them fear us in every shadow. Let them wonder if the next voice they hear will be ours." The humans moved like ghosts. Small Terran ships slipped across borders unseen. They hacked into comm relays. leaving chilling messages in dead voices. "We are awake. We are watching." Soldiers on the outer rim swore they saw faces in the dark, pale and cold, staring back before vanishing. One night on a mining colony near the border, alarms blared. The sky lit up with fire as unknown ships descended. The colony governor shouted into his comm, "We are under attack. Enemy forces landing. We need reinforcements now." When soldiers rushed outside, they froze. The attackers were human, armored in black steel. Their eyes glowed faint under their helmets. They moved without fear, without hesitation. Every defense tower was silenced in minutes. The colony fell before reinforcements could even launch. The survivors were left alive but trembling. A single message was burned into the colony square. This was mercy. "Next time there will be none." The news spread fast. Though the Senate tried to hide it, smugglers and travelers carried the story across systems. The forbidden was no longer hidden, it was advancing. Back in the Senate, chaos exploded. Some senators demanded peace, others demanded full-scale war. The Emperor listened, but even he felt the chill of dread. At last he ordered, "Summon every fleet to the core. We must be ready for war." But in the shadows of the chamber, a voice whispered from nowhere, filling every ear. "You will not be ready." The senators froze. Guards drew weapons, but there was no intruder, only the echo of a human voice that should not have been there. It had come through no device, no channel, yet it filled the air as if the chamber itself had spoken. Panic swept the room. Senators screamed. Some fled. Others demanded answers. The Emperor stood slowly, gripping the edge of his throne. His calm cracked. For the first time, his voice trembled. "They are already here across the Empire." Fear turned to unrest. Colonies whispered rebellion. Soldiers hesitated to march into the dark. Even the common people began to question whether their mighty rulers had brought doom upon them by crossing the forbidden line. In a dim command room on the flagship, the young officer stood once more before the Admiral. His voice was steady now. "You see it, don't you? They are not waiting. They are already inside our walls. The people will rise against us when they learn the truth. The Empire will fall not only by their fire, but by our own lies." The Admiral buried his face in his hands. "I tried to protect the Empire's pride, but pride is what killed us. Not them." He lifted his head slowly, his eyes haunted. "They don't just fight us, they judge us. They want us to see what we've become before they end us." And somewhere, far beyond the stars, hidden Terran fleets prepared for the next strike. They had shown mercy once, but mercy was running thin. The galaxy did not yet know it. But the downfall of the Empire had already begun. The Empire gathered its fleets. The stars above the capital burned with thousands of warships, their hulls shining like silver blades. It was the largest armada assembled in centuries. The Emperor himself stood before the admirals, his voice firm but strained. "The Terrans strike at our borders. They whisper in our halls. They break our pride. No more tonight. We show them the strength of the Empire." The Senate roared in agreement. But deep in their eyes was fear. Everyone remembered the forbidden line. Everyone remembered the fleet that never returned. The young officer stood beside his admiral on the flagship. He whispered quietly, "Sir, this is not strength. This is desperation. They will destroy us." The admiral's jaw tightened. "I know," he admitted, "but the Emperor commands, and we obey. Pride drives this war, and pride will drown us in fire." The armada moved like a storm. Thousands of ships jumped into forbidden space. The void around them warped. Sensors flickered, then one by one, Terran warships appeared, not in chaos, but in perfect silence. Black vessels sliding from the dark, like blades drawn from a sheath. The comms crackled. The calm human voice returned. "You were warned. Now you face judgment," the admiral shouted orders. "All ships, attack!" The void exploded with light. Empire cannons fired in endless streams. Missiles screamed across space. The sky itself seemed to burn, but the Terrans moved like shadows. Their ships bent around reality. Beams missing as if the void itself shielded them. Direct hits. "Multiple," an officer cried. But when the smoke cleared, the Terran vessels remained untouched, and then the counterstrike began. A single Terran ship unleashed a weapon unseen before. A wave of blue light rippled outward. Empire cruisers shattered in silence, hulls cracking apart without sound. Entire wings of fighters vanished as if swallowed by the dark. On the flagship, officers screamed, "We're losing entire formations. No defense, no shield holds." The admiral gripped the console, his face pale. "Gods, forgive us," he muttered. The Terrans pressed forward. Not in chaos, but in precision. Every strike was measured, every ship destroyed with purpose. It was not a battle, it was an execution. Suddenly, one Imperial fleet tried to retreat. Engines lit as they turned back towards safe space. But Terran ships moved faster, blocking every escape route. Their calm voices echoed through comms once more. "There is no retreat." The Emperor's fleet burned, one ship at a time, across the galaxy. Broadcasts were hijacked, every screen, every comm station, even in the Senate chambers. Lit up with the live horror, civilians, soldiers, senators. They all watched as the Terran fleet crushed the Empire's pride. The Emperor rose in fury, shouting to the chamber, "Cut the feeds!" End this madness. But no one could stop it. The Terrans wanted the galaxy to see, wanted every world to understand the cost of arrogance. On the flagship, the young officer turned to the admiral. "We are finished, sir. There is no victory. No escape." His voice shook, but there was something almost like acceptance. The admiral closed his eyes. "Perhaps this is what we deserve," he whispered. Suddenly the Terran ship stopped firing. Silence fell across the battlefield. Burning wrecks drifted in the void. Thousands of Empire ships destroyed, but still some remained, trembling, waiting. A voice filled the comms again, calm and cold. "You still breathe only because we allow it. Leave this place and never return. The next time we rise, it will not be mercy. It will be war." The fleet staggered back, broken, bleeding, but alive. The survivors limped toward the edge of forbidden space. Behind them, the Terran ships did not chase. They simply watched, glowing faint in the shadows. When the survivors finally reached Imperial space, riots had already begun. Citizens had seen the broadcast, they had seen the truth. The Empire's lies could no longer hold. In the Senate, chaos ruled. Some senators demanded surrender, others screamed for more war. The Emperor shouted over them all, his voice thunderous. "We will rebuild, we will rise again. The Terrans will fall." But no one believed him. The people had seen too much. The myth of the Empire's power had been shattered. That night the Admiral stood alone in his quarters, staring at the stars. His voice was soft, broken. "We thought the Terrans were dead, but they were never gone. They were waiting, patient, watching, and when we came, they judged us." The door opened quietly. The young officer entered, his face pale but his voice steady. "Sir, it is only a matter of time. The people will turn against the Senate. The fleets are crippled. The Terrans could end us at any moment." The Admiral nodded slowly. "Yes, and perhaps they already have. Far beyond, deep within Terran space, the human commander watched the recordings. His officers stood silent, waiting. Finally he spoke. "They have seen what we can do. Fear now lives in their hearts. The Empire is broken, but not finished, and when they rise again, we will be ready." He turned toward the holographic star map. His hand hovered over Imperial space. His voice, a whisper filled with iron. This was mercy. "The next strike will be the end." The stars shimmered with quiet menace, and across the galaxy, every soul knew one truth. The downfall of the Empire had only just begun. The Empire was breaking. Worlds once loyal now rioted in the streets. Colonies refused to send taxes. Soldiers deserted in silence. The myth of invincible power had been burned away when the Terran fleet showed its strength. And everywhere, people whispered the same word with fear and awe. Terran. In the Senate chamber, chaos ruled. Senators shouted over one another. "We must surrender before they come again," one cried. Another slammed his fist on the table. "Surrender, never. We must show strength, gather what is left and strike once more." The Emperor rose from his throne. His voice shook with rage. "You speak of surrender like cowards. The Empire has ruled for centuries. We will not kneel to ghosts, but one senator, older and tired, stood slowly, his voice cut through the chamber. Ghosts do not burn fleets. Ghosts do not invade colonies. Ghosts do not leave messages in fire. These are not shadows. They are men, and they are stronger than us. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Fear crept into every face on the flagship. The Admiral stood in the command room with the young officer at his side. The Admiral's voice was quiet. The Emperor will never admit the truth. His pride will blind him until the Terrans finish us all. The young officer clenched his fists. Then what do? We cannot wait for orders that lead only to death. The Admiral stared at the stars beyond the viewport. We wait for the Terrans to move, and when they do, the Empire will shatter from within. The Terrans did not wait long. Across the border, black ships appeared without warning. They did not attack fleets this time. Instead, they targeted symbols of power. A communication hub turned to ash in seconds. A weapons foundry melted in fire. A prison where thousands were held broke open as humans freed the captives. Each strike was fast, silent, merciless. The Empire could not stop them. The Terrans vanished before reinforcements could arrive, leaving only ruins and fear behind. On one border world, soldiers huddled in their barracks, alarms blaring as human ships hovered above. The ground shook, and then a voice filled the sky, calm and sharp. The Empire has no power here. You are free. The soldiers dropped their weapons. Civilians cheered and wept. The Terrans had not only broken the fleets, they were breaking the chains that bound the Empire together. Back in the capital, the Emperor's anger grew. He shouted at his council, "Crush them! Find their worlds and burn them! Show the galaxy we still rule!" But an advisor shook his head, trembling. "Sire, we cannot find them. Their worlds are hidden, their fleets appear and vanish. It is as if the shadows themselves fight us." The Emperor's eyes blazed with fury. "Then burn the colonies that resist. Make an example of them. Let the people know the price of disobedience." The Admiral heard of this order and felt his stomach twist. He turned to the young officer. He would kill his own people to protect his throne. "He fears the Terrans less than he fears the truth." The young officer's voice was sharp. "Then he is already lost. The Empire is crumbling from inside, and the Terrans only push it faster." Days later, another broadcast appeared across the galaxy. Every screen, every comm station, every soldier's visor flickered to life. A Terran stood in black armor, his face hidden, his voice calm and steady. "You are not our enemy. Your chains are, your rulers are. Rise. And you will be free. Resist, and you will burn with them." The message spread like fire. Worlds that once trembled now rose in rebellion. Citizens tore down imperial banners, soldiers abandoned their posts, and the Empire's fleets, already weakened, began to split apart as commanders refused to fight hopeless battles. In the Senate, panic consumed the chamber. "The people rise against us." One senator screamed, another shouted, "The Terrans do not need to fight us. They make our people fight for them." The Emperor's face grew pale with rage. His voice thundered, "Find them! Kill them! Silence every voice that dares whisper their name." But even as he shouted, another senator stood, his voice strong. "It is too late. Your pride has doomed us. You crossed the forbidden. And now the forbidden has crossed into us." Guards drew weapons. The chamber erupted in violence. Senators fought each other. Fear turned to chaos. In his quarters, the Admiral sat in silence. The young officer entered, his voice low. "Sir, the people see the Terrans as liberators now. They see them not as ghosts, but as saviors. The Empire is collapsing, and soon there will be nothing left to command." The Admiral closed his eyes. "Then perhaps this is how it ends, not with a fleet, not with a battle, but with truth, the truth we buried, the truth they forced us to see, far away in the hidden chambers of Terran Command." The human leader watched reports of rebellion spreading. His officers smiled, one saying, "They fight themselves. We hardly need to strike." But the commander's voice was cold. "Do not be deceived. A beast is most dangerous when wounded. The Emperor will not fall quietly. He will take worlds with him, and we must be ready when he does." He turned to the map of the Empire. Worlds flashing red one after another. his voice a whisper that echoed like thunder. We gave them fear, we gave them warning, now we give them fire. The stars outside shimmered, and across the galaxy, the Empire's pride turned to ash. Its downfall was no longer coming, it had already begun. The Empire was dying, but the Emperor refused to admit it. Flames of rebellion spread across his worlds. Banners of resistance flew where Imperial flags once stood. Fleets deserted, colonies declared independence. Yet in the throne room of the capital, the Emperor stood tall, his voice sharp. They think the Terrans will save them. They think shadows in the dark can rule better than me. I will burn every world before I surrender, the senators whispered in fear. Some bowed their heads, others secretly prepared escape routes. They knew the end was close, but the Emperor's pride chained them all. On the flagship, the Admiral sat in silence. Staring at the stars, the young officer approached. His voice calm but heavy. It has begun, sir. Entire sectors have risen. The Senate cannot control the chaos. The Emperor orders the fleets to fire on his own people. The Admiral's hands tightened on the table. Madness, he muttered. Killing his own people will not save him. It will only quicken the end. The officer looked at him with sharp eyes. And what of us? Will we follow his orders, or will we break the chain before it drags us into the fire? The Admiral did not answer. His silence was enough. In the shadows of the galaxy, the Terran fleet prepared. Thousands of black warships gathered in silence, engines humming low like the growl of predators. The Terran commander stood before his officers. His voice was steady. They are weak, they are broken, but do not mistake weakness for peace. A cornered empire will still kill. We end this now. The fleet moved. Each ship slid from the dark like a blade, their course set for the imperial capital itself. Across the empire, people watched the skies. Some cheered, some prayed, others wept. They knew the end of the empire was coming, and nothing could stop it. The Emperor stood in his war chamber as alarms blared. His generals reported in panic, "Sire, the Terran fleet has entered the system. Thousands of ships, no weakness detected. They are heading for the capital." The Emperor's eyes blazed. "Then let them come. Let the galaxy see us fight to the last breath." The battle began in silence. Then the void erupted. Imperial fleets rushed forward, firing everything they had. The sky above the capital became a storm of fire. But the Terrans moved through it like shadows. Weapons bent away, missiles dissolved against their shields. One by one, Imperial ships turned into burning wrecks. On the flagship, the Admiral watched in silence. The young officer beside him whispered, "They are not fighting us. They are dismantling us, piece by piece, as if they already know the end." The Admiral's voice was hollow. "Because they do. They have judged us, and this is their verdict." The Terran fleet closed in on the capital. Their ships surrounded the planet like a black crown. Then the message came, calm and steady. "Empire, your reign is over. Surrender now or be erased." The Emperor roared, slamming his hand on the table. "Never! Fire on the capital itself if you must, but I will not bow." His generals stared in horror. "Sire, our people, millions will die." "Then let them die." The Emperor shouted, "Better ashes than surrender." But before his order could be carried out, the Admiral's face appeared on the command screens. His voice was firm. "Enough! The Empire is finished. I will not slaughter our own people for your pride." Gasps filled the chamber. The Emperor's face twisted in rage. "Traitor!" The Admiral did not flinch. "No, I am loyal to what the Empire was meant to be, not what you have turned it into." Across the fleets, commanders hesitated. Many shut down their weapons, refusing to obey the Emperor's madness. Some even turned their ships away. The Empire fractured not in silence, but in defiance. The Terrans waited. They did not fire. They watched as the Empire tore itself apart. On the capital, the people rose, storming the Senate halls, chanting in fury. Soldiers dropped their weapons, joining the crowds. The Emperor stood alone in his throne room, his guards gone, his voice shaking for the first time. "I am the Empire, I am eternal." But the throne room's great windows shook as Terran ships descended. Dark silhouettes filled the sky. A voice echoed across the city, calm and cold. "No empire is eternal." The Emperor sank to his knees. His crown fell, rolling across the floor with a hollow sound. In orbit, the Admiral bowed his head, whispering to the young officer, "It is over. The Terrans have not just destroyed us. They have replaced us." The officer looked at him with quiet awe. "Perhaps not replaced, sir. Perhaps they have only reminded the galaxy that pride has a cost." The Terran commander stood aboard his flagship. Watching the flames below, his officers waited for his command. He spoke at last. "Do not burn the capital. Do not slaughter them. Let them live with the truth. That is punishment enough." The fleet pulled back, leaving the world in silence. The Empire had fallen, not by endless fire, but by truth, by fear, by the weight of its own arrogance. Across the galaxy, free worlds rose. The name Terran spread not as myth, but as law, and in the dark of space, the humans whispered their vow. "We were forbidden once, never again." The stars flickered above, carrying the promise that the age of the Empire was gone, and the age of Terrans had begun.